He said nothing as they zip-tied his wrists, shattered his equipment, and laughed in his face. Just a quiet trucker, they thought, until the state patrol showed up and whispered his name. Who was he really? And why did the FBI launch an investigation the next day? Kevin Rook Dawson adjusted the grip on the wheel of his rig, his fingers calloused from decades of both war and road. The cab was silent except for the low hum of the engine and the intermittent ping of encrypted communications, signals bouncing from satellites, routed through government servers. His trailer was unmarked, matte black, and bolted shut with a biometric lock keyed only to his fingerprints. No logos, no paperwork, just a man, a truck, and a mission. For the last 6 weeks, Kevin had been working out of a desolate warehouse tucked deep in the Wyoming plains. A facility so classified it didn't appear on GPS officially. It was a military logistics test site. In reality, it was a proving ground for autonomous inventory tracking systems and AI-based route optimization tools, built for battlefield supply chains. Kevin wasn't just driving the rig. He was part of the system monitoring how the new tech behaved in real-world scenarios. He'd been given one directive: stay off radar. No questions. No deviations. But the road doesn't care about classified memos. That morning, a storm rolled over the hills, dragging curtains of dust across the highway. Kevin kept his head low as he approached the old Route 47 way station. The blinking sign read, "Open. All commercial vehicles must stop." He debated blowing past it, but protocol was protocol. He slowed, his truck's brakes sighing like an old soldier exhaling after battle. Inside the station, Travis Shaw, a barrel-chested DOT inspector with mirrored sunglasses and a beer gut packed into tactical pants, glanced at Kevin's rig on the monitor. No plates? No logo? This guy think he's Batman. His partner, Vince O'Donnell, was already donning gloves. "Let's go introduce ourselves." Kevin rolled down the window as they approached. "Morning, officers," he said flatly. "License, registration, and bill of lading," Travis demanded, voice coated in sarcasm. Kevin handed over a federal ID. No name, no photo. Just a DOD classification number. Travis squinted. "This a joke?" "No, sir. You think you can roll into my station with a mystery box on wheels, hand me a magic card, and I'll salute you?" Vince circled the rig, knocking on the trailer panels. "He's hauling ghosts." "I'm authorized for military logistics operations," Kevin said evenly. "I'm not at liberty to discuss contents." "Oh, we'll discuss it all right," Travis snapped. "Pop the trailer. Now." Kevin paused. "I can't do that." Wrong answer. In a flash, Travis grabbed Kevin's arm and yanked the door open. "Step out. Hands where I can see them." Kevin didn't resist. Years of discipline taught him that escalation only feeds bullies. By then, a few nearby truckers had taken interest. Phones were raised. Cameras recording. "Hey!" one of them called out. "That guy's a vet. You can't treat him like that." Kevin was pushed against the side of the rig. Plastic zip ties snapped over his wrists. His ID fluttered to the asphalt, stepped on by Vince's boot. Travis unlocked the cab, rummaging through the front compartment. "What the hell is this?" he growled, pulling out a rugged hard drive with a biometric scanner. When it didn't open, he hurled it down the ravine. No chain of custody, no markings, just a black box and attitude. "Probably smuggling tech for China," he spat. Kevin said nothing, just stared at the dust as another hard drive clattered down into the brush. "Jesus," one trucker muttered, filming the chaos. "This ain't right." Vince started yanking cables from the dash, smashing a small control panel against the doorframe. Sparks jumped. Smoke drifted. Travis leaned close to Kevin's ear. "You want to play silent soldier? Here's what happens to ghosts out here." Kevin winced, not from pain, but from the sound, the crisp crunch of breaking circuitry. That was a $2 million sensor suite, part of the new live routing AI. And it was gone. Suddenly, a sharp siren pierced the air. A black and white state patrol vehicle pulled up, lights flashing. The door slammed, and out stepped Captain Norman Reese, a lean, gray-haired man who moved like he'd never left basic training. "What's going on here?" he barked. "Routine inspection," Travis replied smoothly. Driver wouldn't comply. Suspected smuggling. Reese's eyes landed on Kevin, and his expression changed instantly. Cut him loose. Now. Travis scoffed. Sir, this man is… I said cut him loose. Vince hesitated. You can't be serious. Reese stepped forward, lowering his voice. That man is Kevin Dawson. Special Forces, Delta Operator, 3 tours. Last known clearance? Omega Black. Do you know what that means, officer? Travis blinked. You don't detain him. You call someone. There was a tense silence. One of the truckers, still filming, muttered under his breath. He's not just a trucker. The ties were cut. Kevin rubbed his wrists, red and swollen. He still didn't speak. Didn't need to. Reese turned to him. You good? Kevin gave a small nod. I'll file the report, Reese said. You get back on the road. Kevin climbed back into the cab. As the engine growled to life, dozens of phones stayed fixed on him. The videos were already uploading. The story already spreading. And somewhere, a woman named Agent Sophia Stone watched the first clip appear in a secure FBI alert thread. She paused the video, staring at the image of Kevin's face frozen in silence. I know that look, she whispered. He's seen something. The wind shifted as Captain Norman Reese stood still, one hand resting on his holstered sidearm, eyes locked on the man kneeling in the dust. For a moment, the sounds of the way station, shouted orders, revving engines, crackling radios, faded away. All he saw was Kevin Rook Dawson, wrists zip-tied, face bloodied from being shoved against his own rig. Norman had seen that face before, years ago in grainy black and white satellite photos from Kandahar. Then again in briefing files so redacted they looked like blackout poetry. Kevin had been a ghost even in the Army, Special Forces, Delta Qualified, part of a Black Ops unit so covert it wasn't officially listed in the Pentagon systems. And now here he was, zip-tied on the side of the road like some backwoods truck thief. Norman didn't hesitate. He ordered the release, shut down the inspection, and called in a secure line to the governor's office, bypassing his own department. Within hours, the incident exploded across the internet. The video, first uploaded by a trucker, was titled, Veteran Trucker Humiliated by Corrupt DOT Inspectors, Refuses to Fight Back. The footage hit a nerve. Kevin's silence, the cold professionalism in his eyes, the zip ties, the hard drives thrown into a ravine. Millions watched it, replayed it, slowed it down, searching his face. News channels picked it up within hours. Pundits asked, is this how we treat those who served? The heated discussion continued for hours. But while the internet burned with outrage, FBI Special Agent Sophia Stone sat in a quiet room in Quantico, reviewing the raw bodycam footage. She wasn't swayed by headlines or emotions. She looked for patterns. And the patterns were there, clear as day once you knew how to read them. Veteran drivers flagged for minor infractions. Increased citations on unbranded rigs. Confidential complaints about abuse at way stations. All buried under lack of evidence. Sophia leaned back in her chair, eyes narrowed. It's not just harassment, she said aloud. It's strategic. Someone's targeting military logistics. She compiled a cross-reference between flagged veterans and inspection regions. One name kept appearing, Lieutenant Carla Hurley, DOT Regional Supervisor out of Wyoming. A polished career woman with a spotless record on paper. But her name showed up in every dismissed complaint, every rerouted investigation. Something smelled off. Sophia requested Hurley's financial records, but they came back squeaky clean. So she dug deeper. A source in internal affairs slipped her a memo. Hurley had recently bought a mountain property under a shell company. No mortgage or liens. All cash. A $500,000 cabin on a lieutenant's salary? Then Sophia looked into the inspections Travis Shaw and Vince O'Donnell had performed in the past year. A pattern emerged. Harsh inspections on unmarked or independent rigs, especially those carrying defense-related cargo. In every case, the drivers were detained, citations issued, and equipment either damaged or lost. But nothing ever came of the complaints. Hurley had signed off on every one. Then Sophia found something that made her stomach drop. Emails between Hurley and a private logistics company called Skycrest Freight Solutions, a rising competitor in military transport bidding. The emails were encrypted but not well enough. Skycrest had paid Hurley to increase competitive edge. They were supposed to sabotage the competition, especially the government's own tech tests. And that's when it hit her. Kevin wasn't pulled over by accident. He had been targeted. Someone inside the DOT knew about the classified tests. They had tipped off Hurley, and she had sent her bulldogs, Travis and Vince, to shut it down. But why? Why risk exposing a federal sabotage scheme over one truck? Sophia stared at the screen. Then the name clicked. Rook. It wasn't just a call sign. It was a warning. In chess, the rook controls the field. Strong, silent, always watching from the edge. You don't notice it until it strikes. Kevin Dawson wasn't just a driver testing a system. He was the system, a human variable in a field test designed to expose vulnerabilities, both technical and human. And someone failed that test spectacularly. Sophia sent a secure message to her superior. Subject is Kevin Dawson, codename Rook. This is not just a DOT overreach. Possible breach of federal integrity operations. Recommend escalation and full surveillance on Hurley Shaw O'Donnell. Suspect bribery and sabotage of DOD testing programs. She hit send. Outside, the nation continued to argue. Talk shows, veterans groups, news anchors dissecting every frame of the video. But in a small corner of the country, inside a DOD safe house in Utah, Kevin Dawson sat in a folding chair, alone. His wrists were still red from the zip ties. He watched the footage of himself on phone someone had handed him. He didn't smile, didn't speak. He just stared. And then, almost imperceptibly, shook his head in recognition. They had come after him on purpose. And now they knew his name. The wind stirred up the dry Wyoming dust as Kevin Rook Dawson eased his truck into the gravel lot of Eric's Diner, a tired roadside stop on Route 191. He hadn't planned to be here. He rarely planned anything anymore. The events at the way station had changed him. Since then, Kevin had gone silent again, vanished from the press, declined interviews, refused military honors. The public called him a hero. He didn't agree. All he wanted now was coffee, quiet, a few minutes of peace. Inside the diner, a waitress in her 60s wiped a counter while a couple of truckers leaned over plates of bacon and eggs. The radio in the corner played a soft Willie Nelson tune. Kevin picked the booth nearest the window, ordered black coffee, and removed his cap. He had almost started to relax until the door burst open. Raymond Toller, early 40s, ex-Army, stormed inside wearing desert camo and a wild look in his eye. His M4-style rifle wasn't military issue, but it was real. And it was loaded. Patrons screamed. The waitress dropped a pot of coffee that shattered against the tile. Everyone down. Now! Raymond roared. Kevin didn't move. He studied Raymond's stance. The twitch in his right eye, the tension in his jaw. The man wasn't here to rob. He wasn't here for money. He was unraveling. Raymond herded the few customers and staff to a corner and locked the door. No one's leaving until someone listens for once. You hear me? He shouted. They used us, tossed us out, and no one said a damn thing. Kevin stood slowly, empty hands raised. Let them go. You don't want to do this. Raymond turned the rifle toward him, eyes narrowing. Who the hell are you? Kevin didn't answer with a name. He answered with a stare. Steady, calm, quiet. The kind that said, I know what's eating you alive. The waitress whimpered behind the counter. One of the truckers whispered a prayer. Raymond's hand trembled. You were discharged, Kevin said softly. Other than honorable. You've been trying to get it reversed. Denied 4 times. Raymond's eyes flared. How do you know that? I've read your face, seen your file, seen myself. Kevin stepped forward, inch by inch. You think the discharge defines you, that the worst moment of your life is the only thing they'll ever remember. But it's not. I lost everything, Raymond barked. They said I was unstable, that I snapped. But they didn't know what they put us through out there, what they made us do. I do, Kevin said. He sat slowly at a stool near the counter, never breaking eye contact. Raymond's hands started to shake. The rifle's barrel dropped half an inch. You know what they told me? Kevin continued, voice low and even. That silence was loyalty. that following orders was enough. But when I came back, no one knew what to do with me either. So I started driving trucks. Not because I love the road, because the road didn't ask questions. Raymond blinked. I got flagged, harassed, thrown in the dirt like some criminal. Same people I fought for. Same people who'll forget you the moment you pull that trigger. The words hung in the air. You didn't come here to kill anyone, Kevin said. You came here hoping someone would finally understand what you went through. So here I am. I understand. Silence. The waitress sobbed softly into a napkin. Outside, a SWAT team formed behind squad cars. Snipers moved into position. Raymond looked at the window. He saw the red dots begin to appear on his chest. They'll shoot me anyway. Not if I walk you out, Kevin said. Raymond's breathing was ragged. I'm just a soldier. Kevin stood again. Then put the rifle down like one. Raymond's jaw clenched. Tears welled in his eyes, rage and sorrow colliding. Then, slowly, he released the rifle. It hit the tile with a dull clang. Kevin stepped forward, placed a firm hand on his shoulder. They walked out together, hands visible, calm as stone. Dozens of smartphones caught the moment live. A man once humiliated by the system was now leading another soldier out of the darkness. The press didn't call him a ghost this time. They called him a savior. The Wyoming wind curled over the open plains like an old memory, sometimes soft, sometimes sharp. Dust moved in lazy spirals over the cracked asphalt as Kevin guided his truck down a narrow two-lane highway. In the passenger seat, his teenage nephew, Eli, leaned forward, eyes scanning the horizon with the curious intensity of someone seeing the world with new eyes. Feel that, Kevin said, nodding toward the subtle shift in the truck's vibration. That's a crosswind coming in from the northwest. If you don't account for it, you'll start drifting without realizing it. Eli glanced at the side mirror. How do you know that without looking at a compass or something? Kevin half smiled, the lines around his eyes softening. The truck talks. You just have to learn how to listen. They'd been on the road since sunrise, winding through empty counties and forgotten towns, where rusted water towers still bore the names of high school teams long gone. Kevin hadn't spoken much about what happened that spring. He didn't need to. It lived in the silence, in the way he carried himself, stronger now but quieter. His wrists bore faint white lines, like ghosts of past bindings, not just from plastic zip ties at the way station, but from years of having to stay quiet, to follow orders, to vanish when things got complicated. Eli didn't ask about the scars, but he noticed them. Back in D.C., the headlines had moved on. FBI agent Sophia Stone had taken heat for going after a federal agency, but she didn't flinch. Her report had named Lieutenant Carla Hurley directly, along with 5 DOT officials across 3 states. A web of forged inspections, buried complaints, and quiet bribes, traced, documented, and exposed. Hurley had stood trial in Denver, pled guilty to obstruction and conspiracy. She was currently serving a 6-year sentence in a medium-security facility. Her co-conspirators cut deals. But the culture they'd built, the intimidation of independent drivers, the harassment of veterans, was dismantled piece by piece. DOT regional offices implemented mandatory transparency reforms. Body cams were now required for roadside inspections. Veteran advocacy groups launched legal support lines for truckers with service records. Sophia never gave interviews. But when asked why she had pursued the case so personally, she offered only one sentence. He didn't raise his voice, even when they broke everything he carried. That kind of restraint deserves justice. Kevin hadn't spoken to her since. He didn't like being the center of things. He didn't need revenge, and he didn't want medals. All he wanted was the road. They pulled off near a flat expanse dotted with sagebrush. Kevin cut the engine, and the silence that followed was almost holy. Take the wheel, he said. Eli blinked. Wait, you're serious? Kevin nodded. We're on private land. No law against learning. Eli scrambled over to the driver's seat, gripping the wheel like it might break in his hands. Kevin adjusted the seat for him, gave him a simple instruction. Don't fight the truck. Let it talk to you. The engine rumbled back to life. Eli eased it forward, jerking once before finding the right pressure on the clutch. They moved slowly through the field. A tumbleweed bounced off the grill. In the mirror, dust rose behind them like a soft memory dissolving into the sky. Later that evening, parked near a bluff overlooking the canyon, Kevin stood beside the truck as Eli skipped rocks into the dusk. The sun dipped low, burning orange behind jagged ridges. "You ever get mad?" Eli asked suddenly. "At what they did to you?" Kevin stared into the distance for a long beat. "I used to," he said, "but I learned something." "What's that?" He turned to his nephew, his voice quiet but certain. "The road don't lie, only people do." Eli looked puzzled. "What does that mean?" Kevin placed a hand on the truck's fender. "The road tells you exactly what it is. A patch of gravel here, a dip in the shoulder there. It doesn't pretend. People, they wear uniforms, give orders, shake your hand, but not all of them mean what they say. Some want power. Others want to be feared." He paused. "But there are good people too. Ones who watch. Ones who speak up. Ones who drive straight even when the path's rough." Eli nodded slowly. "You one of the good ones?" he asked. Kevin cracked a tired smile. "I'm trying to be." That night, Eli slept in the sleeper cabin, curled under a wool blanket, the kind truckers passed down from generation to generation. Kevin stayed awake for a while, staring out the side window, listening to coyotes call from a nearby ridge. His thoughts drifted to Raymond Toller. Last he heard, Raymond was in a VA facility undergoing treatment. They'd exchanged a letter once. Short, honest. It ended with, "You didn't see a threat. You saw a brother." I'll never forget that. Kevin folded that memory up like a map and tucked it away, deep inside. Then he turned back to the wheel. There was still road ahead. And the road didn't lie. This story reminds us that real strength isn't loud. It's silent, calm, and ready when the world needs it most. What would you have done in Kevin's place? Would you have stayed silent or fought back? Comment below. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to embrace the journey for more powerful stories like this. See you in the next video.